Okay, real quick, let's get through this. I want to just review a couple quick examples, get your notes out. We'll make this super quick, and then we'll hit the road. You can go work on this stuff a little bit. All right, so I want to look at just a couple different example problems from the assignment. How about? All right, so about something like that, real quick. So remember that when we're dealing with a circle, okay, what's the standard form equation of a circle that has a center at HK and a radius of R? Remember?
X minus H.
Ah, good. X minus H
Squared.
Good. Plus
H minus K.
Y
minus
K
K.
squared equals
R squared.
R squared. Very good. Okay, so all we got to do, remember, we had a big talk about this on Thursday. All we got to do is just plug in the values of the parameters. You know, the things that define the circle are the center, so HK, the point HK, and then the radius, right? Well, on some of these problems, they're just giving you that stuff, right? And you're plugging it in. So if we know that the center is at negative 2, 0, what's the value of H? These are the coordinates of the center. Negative 2, exactly, right? So they're telling us, this is HK, right? So we're plugging negative 2 in for H. And what are we plugging in for K? 0. And what are we plugging in for R?
6.
6. That's it. So we'd end up with X minus negative 2, makes it X plus 2 squared, plus, what's Y minus 0? What's anything minus 0?
0.
Well, no.
Y.
Well, just Y, good. So then we're just going to get a Y squared equals 6 squared is 36. So that's our answer right there.
Can't you simplify that?
You cannot.
No.
You mean, can you expand that out and stuff?
Yeah.
We don't want to. We want to write it in standard form. We'd rather have it this way so we can look at this and say, aha, there's the center, right? I can see the coordinates of the center, negative 2, 0, and R squared, right? That's the way we want it, okay? All right, so there's that guy. Let's look at, let's see. So this one would be slightly different, same idea, but remember what we do here, right? They're giving us the center, so they're giving us 2 of the 3 parameters, but we don't know what the radius is, right? So if they tell us this, if they tell us that H is 13 and K is 16, and then this is just another point on the circle, right? So that's a solution. Those are values of the variables X and Y that work, right? And we want to plug all that stuff into, once again, our standard form. We want to plug all that stuff in, right? So we know what to plug in for H and K. We plug in 13 and 16. But we got to solve for R, or really just solve for R squared, right? We don't even need to know what R is. We just need to know what R squared is. And then we could always square root it to find the radius, right? How am I going to do that? So this gives us the step. So we end up with so this gives us that much, right? We just need to know what that is. What's my strategy for finding out? What can I do?
Plug in X.
Exactly. I could plug in X and Y temporarily, right? Plug those in just in order to solve for R squared, right? So if we do that, if I plug in 18, if I plug in 18 for X and 24 for Y, look what we get. 18 minus 13 is what?
5.
5. So this is gonna become 5 squared plus 24 minus 16 is what?
8.
8. 8 squared equals r squared. Well, what's 5 squared?
25.
25, 8 squared, 64. So 25 plus 64 is 89. So all that stuff just becomes 89. And there's our other parameter, right? So all I've got to do then is go back here and plug that in for r squared. But I can't leave the 18 and the 24 in there for y, right? Those are variables. I have to have variables in my answer, right? My answer has to be written in terms of x and y as my variables, right? So I only use those temporarily to find out what r squared was. But my final answer then should be what?
Or x minus 13.
Good. X minus 13 squared plus y minus 16 squared equals 89. Very good. That's my answer. Right? Okay. That's good. All right.
That's it?
That's that one. Now, the last one I'll do. And then I think that's all we need to do for today. I think the rest of it you can figure out from this. Is completing the square one. And these are not very hard. These look really hard, but you guys are not going to have a problem with this. Let's do about that. Fact. Okay. Yeah, let's just do that one. So we want to get this into standard form, right? We want to get this into the form x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, right? So let's see, we've only got, it looks like, I'm going to do this on a separate page. Too much writing. All right, so our goal then is to get that into this form, right? We want to get that into the form x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, let's look where we start here. I've got an x squared term and an x term, but I've really just got then a y squared term by itself. Does that make sense? So y squared's already done, right? What is k? I don't need to complete the square for y because there's no other y term. Can you see what k is? No? Okay. Then it's 0. Exactly. It's 0, isn't it? Right? How come? Because isn't y squared is the same as y minus what squared? Y minus 0 squared, right? Okay, if that doesn't make perfect sense now, I think it will in a second. But the answer to that one, we know we can already see that k is 0, maybe. If we can't, you will in a second.
Isn't h?
But h, we don't know, right? I mean, we can find out. What is it, you know?
I thought it would be h also. Or I mean 0 also.
No, it's not because, look, I've got an x squared minus an 8x, right? So what we've got to do here then is I've got to break up the x, I'm going to put the x terms together, clump together, and the y terms clump together, so I can, if necessary, complete the square for either one of those, right? So the x terms are going to look like this, x squared minus 8x space, right? I got to leave a space there so I can complete the square, plus y squared, and I'll leave a space even though I won't need it there, equals, and then just 0. If I had a number there, I'd have to push the number to the other side though, right? Okay, so this one is really done. This is just the same thing as y minus 0 squared, but this one is not, right? I've got to complete the square for the x's. So what's the number that gets coupled with the x in our perfect square? -4, good. Right, because I've got a -8 there which means that's gonna turn into the quantity x minus 4 squared, right? But to do that, what number do I have to add to both sides? 16, right? Negative 4 squared is 16. See what I'm saying? So then on this side, we just get 16, right? Do I really need to write that as y minus 0? No, I don't. I'll just write it as y squared, but that's going to be my answer. If I write that as y squared, that's our answer. So I end up with x minus 4 squared plus y squared equals 16. Okay, from that answer, can you tell me what the values of h and k are? What's h? Not negative 4, positive 4, right? Because we're just going to compare this to the standard form, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, right? So what's the number being subtracted from x? 4. What's k? What's the number being subtracted from y? 0. So there's the center, right? What's our radius? If r squared equals 16, what's our radius? What do you think? Like, what's the radius going to be? If r squared is 16, then what's r? 4. Yeah, square root of 16. Okay. Okay. Get the idea? Okay. Some of the questions are just going to ask you to do that, and that's fine. And then the next block of questions is going to ask you to do that and then interpret it. Find the center and find the radius. Let's do one more of those, and then we'll be done. How about, let's do one, this will be a little different. Let's do that. Oh, no. There's one. Right there. Okay, so what do we got here? What are we going to do? We got to put this into standard form, right? So what's our strategy? We're going to have to get an x minus h squared, right? And a y minus k squared equals something squared. But look, in this case, I've got x squareds and x terms and y squareds and y terms. So I'm going to have to complete the square for both x and y, right? Everybody agree? So how am I going to group this then? X is together and the y is together with the space for each one, right? So we'll get those together. So x squared plus 4x space plus y squared plus 12y space equals what? What do I do? I got to get I want to get everything else on the other side. So what do I have to do with this term? Yeah, so I'm just going to get negative 15, right? And then all I've got to do is just complete the square twice and figure out what number I end up with on the other side, because that's going to be my r squared, right? So that's my template, right? Okay, so Riley, what number is going to go there? 2. Good. So 2 goes there, half of 4, which means, let's see, what's going to go, Cassidy, what's going to go there? and there? 4. 2 squared, right? So I'm going to get 4 and 4. Make sense? Okay, Bailey, what number goes there? 6. Which means, what number am I adding to both sides? 36. 6 squared, right? So look, I got the left side done. That works, right? There's my x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. On this side, what number do I end up with? Just add them up. So 4 plus 36 is 40 plus negative 15 would be what, 25? Okay, so we end up with, that's it, right? That's the answer, that's the answer if that's all they're looking for. What if I want to find the center of the circle? So what's HK? What is it? -2, right? It's going to be the opposite because it's the number being subtracted from x. So like we've always done then with the absolute value stuff and now with the circles, it's going to be the opposite of that sign. So I'm going to get -2. What's the value of k? Opposite of that sign, right? -6. And r is?
5?
That's r squared, right?
So it's 5.
So 5. And maybe I should write that as, let's do this, let's write it as the square root of 25, which is 5. Okay, does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, this is amazing. You guys, seriously, I can't believe, this is pretty sophisticated stuff. And you're handling this great. I mean, think about how far you've come this year. That's a long ways, right? That's pretty good. There's a lot of mental steps, a lot of interior steps that aren't shown there. That's really good. I'm very pleased. Okay, 209.